Hi there YouTube, this is the Magnus bringing you another Total War Warhammer online ladder battle. When I queued up for quick battle this time, I got an opponent who chose the Dwarfs, so I decided to bring my anti-Dwarf Empire army again, so let's see how that goes. I made a few changes based on you guys' feedback, so I have 3 swordsmen, 3 great swords, 2 handgunners to deal with any potential gyros. I moved my cavalry down to 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun. I still have the Sunmaker because, well, it's been so good to me so far, and an Empire Captain and General of the Empire with potions of toughness and up in the air on their flying mounts ready to fight. My opponent brings a front line of 4 miners, obviously made to there to absorb any charges. Behind them are 4 quarrelers, a great damage contingent. He's got a dwarf warrior out on each side, and in the back he has 3 longbeards with great weapons, and behind them he has 2 slayers. So definitely a build I haven't seen before, and he's not in a box. It looks like he intends to fight in a more standard way. You can see how I line my men up, just the infantry in the front, handgunners behind them, Sunmaker behind that, cav out on the wings, and my flying contingent just off center so they don't get hit by my own Sunmaker, because that can be bad. So let's see how this unfolds. He's going to immediately begin the push, like literally the second the battle starts. So I decide I better push up and get out of this little ravine here, which is really going to close the distance between us pretty darn quickly. And of course I have the Sunmaker target some of his quarrelers here in the center of his army, because those, of all things I see on the field, I think they're going to be able to do the most damage to me. In the meantime, I send my flyers up and around because I don't want to get hit by the quarrelers right out the gate. My cav is going to do the same, standard flanking procedure, nothing too unusual there. The infantry I had pause, but then I started taking this quarreler fire, and I realized being in this stupid ravine is really reducing how effective the Sunmaker is. So I decided I've got to push up, I got to get these infantry involved, and I've got to get my handgunners shooting because I'm losing this skirmish really quickly. The other thing I decide is I'm going to use my cav to try to break into sorry, that's probably a more accurate line, try to break into his quarrelers because they are having a devastating effect. As you can see, my handgunners are immediately in very bad shape. They take severe losses and they lose their leadership very quickly. I engage with his infantry. I've got these knights into his quarrelers on the and I'm setting in my flying contingent towards his quarrelers as well. These knights got intercepted by a unit of dwarf warriors, and that was followed up by a unit of slayers, which is not going to give me much time to react. And I definitely make some micro mistakes here, and so at this point I'm a little concerned, but I feel pretty confident that my infantry can win these battles outright. But as you look a little further, you start to realize I'm horribly outnumbered. I actually have, well, not horribly, about 150 less men than him, but just he's got a lot of units on the field, and it's pretty intimidating. As expected, my Knights of the Blazing Sun do not hold up well on either flank, so his bringing of the slayers, and instead of having them taking the charge, but instead using his dwarf warriors to eat the charge and then bringing them in as a damage contingent is working. I try to bring in the General of the Empire to disrupt these slayers and do some damage to them. Now obviously they're going to be well suited to fighting the General of the Empire, but you know, they're easy to knock over and whatnot, so it's really more about the disruption. I don't leave myself in there for too long. His quarrelers again are firing down. I start to move up my handgunners because I realize they don't have line of sight because of this damn terrain here. So now I start shooting on his quarrelers, returning fire. And as I have armor piercing, I feel I should be able to do a good amount of damage there. I still have a little bit of the knights over here, so I send them to chase some of these miners just to get some more kills and to hopefully drive them off the field, but unfortunately it's my guys who get scared of some stinking dwarfs. So then he sends his 1 unit of slayers in down towards my range and my artillery. Very good play on his part. And this is when I start to realize this is not going well at all. Sure, does this hill here, it plays a factor because my artillery is in a bad way and they don't have line of sight for very far. You know, it also kind of minimized what my handgunners could do, and so, you know, so the terrain has a factor here for sure, and I make some mistakes, absolutely, but I did not see getting whooped up on at this scale coming, and really, you know, even at this point in the battle, I was like, well, you know, it's not that far in his favor. But I mean, look at it, he's pretty much outnumbers me 2-1. So I'm scrambling, I'm trying to get as many quarrelers off the field as possible. I'm trying to kill his runesmith over here with my Empire captain because his buffs are fantastic, and you know, the damage mitigation and the leadership and all the stuff that he gives them, and just I got to deal with that. But he responds quite well by just having his quarrelers focus fire my Empire captain. But I'd rather he do that than focus fire my General the Empire. So he gets rid of a quarreler, and then he's going to go play with some more quarrelers. Tries to avoid these longbeards, which I'm able to do, and I'm able to get in here and splash around with his quarrelers. And again, this, yeah, the General of the Empire and his mount, they can really displace dwarfs. I mean, look at that, just a lot of them hitting the ground. I had to use my healing potion, so I'm not as safe with using him as, you know, as I felt earlier. So I'm gonna pull him out here for a little bit, and then I just start to realize I have nothing left but him. I have this one unit of great swords that reformed. This one's been trying to, but his miners ruined that for me. So I'm just trying to save some guys. At this point, I realize I'm really in a ton of trouble. The Empire captain retreats. He will return, but the dwarf player does a good job just using like this cheap miner unit to chase off a greatsword, because these guys would generally reform, and if they did, they would kick the crap out of these miners, but he's not going to let that happen. Slayers are quicker. He's got them chasing swordsmen. I might invert those two, but that's a, you know, that's a tiny nitpick. He's done a fantastic job. So I get a little bit of infantry together, and I start using the General of the Empire to try to finish off these two miner units. And in the meantime, I just kind of leave my Empire captain back here. I was aware that it reformed, but I didn't want to move it closer because there's just too much firepower here now that he started to congregate his men. And I wanted to be able to get his attention from this side and then bring the Empire captain in. So we'll see how that effort goes. So got that miner to go ahead and rout, which is a good thing, but like I said, let's take a look at the numbers now. 92 men against 368 dwarfs. I don't like my chances. I decided to move back my infantry a little bit while I'm trying to figure out what to do, because I don't want these quarrelers to start shooting until I have some sort of a plan. So then I decide what I need to do is send in the general and send in the Empire captain and send in the infantry. The Empire, my General of the Empire, he can take some hits from these quarrelers because he still has a good deal of health. So I decide he's got to play missile screen, because if he fires at these greatswords and swordsmen, they will break before they ever reach combat. So in he comes. You can see the Empire captains coming in, and I figure I've just got to splash around in these missiles and cause as much disruption as humanly possible. So I cast Stand Your Ground, even though I'm by myself, because I need the General of the Empire to hang in there and not lose leadership as he quickly gets swarmed by a bunch of freaky midgets with beards. So at that point I pull out because I feel I've disrupted enough, and I want to kill this damn runesmith. So I'm working on that here. He's down. Infantry's coming over, and he's still facing my flying units. So I think that's as good as that situation could be. I don't know what hidden unit I'm uncovering. Maybe it looks like the Slayers. I don't know how they're hidden in the middle of a field, but I guess these little trees count. So that when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of weird. They don't have any stock or Vanguard type units. So again, I've got the Empire captain here trying to do what he can. He doesn't last, and unfortunately, neither will the General of the Empire. And my last ditch effort ends in defeat. A valiant defeat, but a defeat just the same at the hands of the dwarfs. No new box. They were aggressive right out the gate. This is a very interesting build, I think. I mean, he's got 19 units on the field. I realize miners are cheap, but using them as a meat shield the way he did to eat missiles, charges, and things like that was really freaking effective. His Quarrelers did a great job. The Slayers, I was a little slow to recognize that they'd got in there and that he had used them perfectly. I paid for it. His Runesmith, you know, he's there to buff, not get kills, so I'm sure he did fine. His Thanes, I didn't even touch one of them. They got 31 kills apiece. His Lord, never really hardly touched him. 63 kills. On my side, the Great Swords did well. Swordsmen did okay. But a lot of these kills, they're these guys, the miners. Not important, not expensive. And his Longbeards and his Dwarf Warriors and stuff still have a lot of guys and a lot of health. The Sunmaker obviously hurt by the hill. My Cav, he got those he got those Slayers on him right away. Brutal. Empire Captain, you know, he did take care of the Runesmith, so I guess he kind of pulled his weight. General Empire did well. Handgunners did not. Overall, a very sound defeat at the hands of the Dwarfs. So I'd like to say good game to my opponent. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about his build and his tactics. Like I said, I do recognize I made some pretty serious micro errors there. I would almost say I got a little complacent, assuming this was going to be an easy win. But I enjoy this sort of thing. Maybe I'm a masochist, but anything that makes me rethink or have to take a new approach, I find that exciting. So clearly my anti-Dwarf build here is not unstoppable. It's been very well proven here. So I'd love to hear your thought on my build. How can I better equip it to be able to deal with this kind of army? I think I'm going to have more units, but you know, that's the obvious part. What are they and what do I change and all that's going to be really interesting. I look forward to discussing that. I also look forward to discussing this Dwarf build. Do you think this is viable in general, or is it just happen to be the right composition to deal with what I brought? Please leave your thoughts in the comments. You guys have helped me out a lot, and we all help each other. Every time we talk about new things, we all get a little better. So again, good game to my opponent. This is the Magnus. If you enjoyed the battle or you learned something here, please just click on that like button. Click on that subscribe button. It does help out a lot and shows me that the channel's growing, and it's very encouraging. So until the next time, again, this is the Magnus. Thanks a lot. Take care, and good luck on the ladder.